Welcome to Corktown Commons Park. In this video, we will explore how Corktown Commons Park is both socially and environmentally sustainable. The park will be analysed using 2 of the 6 theoretical themes that Swaffield identifies in the chapter called The Theoretical Terrain of Landscape Architecture. The first theory you'll be looking at when analysing Corktown Commons Park is design process and landscape architecture is situated, phased, and reflective. This first theory has been broken down into 4 different steps. So we'll be looking at features Corktown Common has in relation to the 4 steps that Swaffield has identified. The first step is a phase of observation and collection of both site-specific and contextual knowledge. It is important to have site-specific knowledge in order to create a design that is both environmentally and socially sustainable. Let's take a look at some of Corktown Commons site-specific attributes that the designer had to consider when creating the design. The first is the history of the site. Formerly, the location of Corktown Commons Park was an industrial site, as you can see in this image. It was important for the planners to gain an understanding and knowledge of the previous use of the site in order to develop and create a safe park for the community. It is important to understand and have a knowledge around the history of the site in order to better plan and develop for the future. Since Corktown Commons was on a formal industrial site, the soil was contaminated, so the planners needed to understand this in order to decontaminate the soil and purify it, to allow plants to flourish and to allow it to be safe for people to use. The site-specific challenge that Corktown Commons has is that it's bordered with the Don Valley River. The Don Valley River is known to flood, so the planners needed to understand this trend and incorporate it into their design. In order to mitigate the flooding of the Don Valley River, they created floodplains. The whole park was designed with the knowledge that the river floods frequently. The topography and plants have been strategically chosen in order to help maintain flooding and protect the park and surrounding developments. You can see the floodplains here. So just behind the tracks there is the Don Valley River. So this piece of land is in place in order to protect the park from flooding. So you can see the natural incline of the hill, as well as the bunch of plants planted here, which are helping irrigate the water and protect the water from going further into the park and inland, where it can cause a lot of damage to the buildings. This map shows Corktown Commons from above. In this map, you can see how close the Don Valley River is to the park, and you can see how big the floodplains are. The floodplains are listed as number 10, 11, and 12 on this map. The next 2 phases we're going to discuss go hand in hand. Phase 2 of analytical and interpretive thinking, and Phase 3 of creative exploration of possibilities for the future. For these 2 phases, it's important to have opinions from the local residents as well as the planners to create the optimal design that is beneficial to all. Planners had to think analytically when designing this park in order to face the natural problems that might come, such as the flooding of the Don Valley River, as well as the natural topography of the area and the soil contamination and which plants they might want to plant in order to have a sustainable future. But they also had to think about the changing demographics of the area. Historically, this area was a place where a lot of immigrants came to Canada. It was very much a working class community as they worked in many of the factories surrounding the river. Toronto no longer needed factories in the downtown core, so the factories moved away. Developers wanted to maintain the demographics of this area as they were designing Corktown Commons Park. So in the design they include space for low-income families to live as well as mixed-income housing in order to try to preserve the demographics and not push them out. As you can see in this map, this displays the development of the area. So number 6 is Corktown Commons. Number 3 is where affordable housing units will be. 4 and 5 are regular mixed-income condos. 1 is a YMCA community center, and 2 is George Brown College residence. So the planners of this area really wanted to foster social sustainability and have a mixed demographic community. Next, we'll be looking at the creative exploration of possibilities for the future. Corktown Commons won an award for being a sustainable park. So we'll take a look at some of the features the park has in order to maintain environmental sustainability. So this is a sustainable pavilion structure. Here you can see that there is a solar panel system. So this powers the different lights and electrical features within the park and on this building. There is a rainwater collecting system, so the rainwater will be collected here and moved down to these various tubes and brought into this building here, which purifies the water and allows the water to be used to water the different plants in the park. Now let's hear more about the different plants and maintenance of the plants in the park. Healthy soil is key to having healthy plants. Technique used to keep the soil healthy, including adding compost, mycorrhizal fungi, watering appropriately, and hand weeding. Corktown Commons is a showcase for Southern Ontario native plant species, which provide healthy biodiversity and diverse beauty in the neighbourhood park setting. Native plants have been planted in unique groupings to create a variety of habitats, including woodlands, marsh, and prairie. The final phase is a phase of deliberation and determination of action. This phase is the final phase of the design process, which has already taken into consideration phase 1, 2, and 3. At this point, you're ready to undertake the design and move forward with the project. Next, we'll be looking at Swafield's third theoretical theme. The way landscape is represented in plan, image, text transforms its meaning. Some of the values Corktown Commons Park displays through design is the value of modernism through its social and environmental sustainable design and outlook, as well as its redevelopment of an old industrial area, transforming it into a modern playground in the middle of Toronto. Now let's see what some of the municipal workers have to say about Corktown Commons Park and how the design reflects the values of the area and the values of the park.
Corktown Common is more than a park. It beautifies a vital piece of new infrastructure, flood protection landform.
This land behind me that you're looking at with buildings on it was worth almost nothing. It's now got some value because it's not going to flood anymore.
So far, Waterfront Toronto has invested $1.3 billion of government money in revitalization. And so far, we've already generated $2.6 billion of investment commitments from developers.
Many people have come to this area just because they've heard about the park.
This park is the hub of this big new district. There's going to be thousands of people living here. They're moving to a place where their kids can come and play, where they can go out with their dogs. It's a real wonderful place to be.
They have given a gift of a space for not just today, but for our future generations.
Some distinct features of the landscape of Corktown Commons is the central lawn, which is number 1 on the map, the water playground, which is number 2 on the map, the pavilion, which is number 3, the sports field, which is number 5, the sledding hill, which is number 6, the march, which is number 7, the march bridge, which is number 8, the Aspen Grove, which is number 9, 10 is the unpaved prairie, 11 is the lowland prairie, 12 is the underpass, 13 is the dog run, and 14 is the Don Valley Trail. Corktown Commons is in the shape of a circle. This is an interesting design choice, as the circle is an important shape to many Indigenous communities. The circle is a sacred shape as it symbolizes the cycle of the natural world as well as equality among the community. This means that among many Indigenous communities, the fact that the park is shaped as a circle helps to reflect the park's connection to environmental sustainability as it represents the cycle of life, as well as social sustainability as it represents equality. The architectural style of the building also is used to reflect the values of the park. The architecture is quite modern with the bold shapes, lines, and minimal design. So this is a way that the design helps to display the language of the park. Corktown Commons has represented its values through the physical design and shape of the park, it being a circle, as well as the modern influences seen in the architecture and modern use of technology in the design. Hester discussed how the designer is responsible to create a socially sustainable space, and if this is done properly, the space will be a good addition to the community and last for future generations. I believe Corktown Commons was successful in creating a social, sustainable park. I also believe they've done a good job at creating an environmentally sustainable park. Sustainability involves, among other things, the notion of human activity and technology systems can contribute to the health of the environment and natural systems. Quote by Hugh. Corktown Common uses technology knowledge to contribute to the environmental sustainability of the park. This is done by adding sustainable energy practices such as water conservation and natural flood protection and planting. Overall, this park was well thought out and well designed, adding to the rich, diverse fabrics of Toronto.